Okay. Okay, it's starting right now. Should start streaming right now. Okay, we are ready, folks. All right, as always, it takes a long while for pop-up to let me know that we're live on the YouTube studio page here.
Yeah, I'm
But
looking for
we
that
are,
now. I think I'm
yeah,
already live, but
I'm already live as well. Just now, about 14 minutes, actually 14 seconds in, is when it let me know soon afterwards. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, how's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to our third episode of movies so bad that they are good. Tonight we'll be taking a look at one of the most iconic, humongous lizards of all pop culture, being of course Godzilla,
the big boy.
the big boy or big girl, because you remember it had
Oh,
a
that's right.
son
He did have
there.
a son.
Yeah, a little Godzilla, or I don't know what the name of that one was.
Actually,
Godzilla.
I'm
Go
not
ahead.
sure, but when we get to that movie, we'll probably find a name for him
All right.
because I don't know what the name was.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, the first
I
movie
know.
that started this off is simply Godzilla,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually came out in 1954.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it's been around
And
a while.
yep, and it's been around that longer, way back, way before Doctor Who, Star Trek, the Star Wars there, and the multiple amount of movies centered on this humongous reptile is outstanding there. I mean, it's a
And
fiction.
several different studios, several different directors. I mean, they didn't keep it consistent. And as you can tell when you see the movies, if you've seen them, the
Yeah.
quality wasn't consistent either.
Yeah, and the effects either was. Um, it was the subject. He was appeared in various media outlets, including 32 films, numerous video games, novels, comic books, and TV shows. One of them, the producer by Hanna-Barbera, of all things.
Yep.
But of course, that version, that had featured a little creature. Of course, you got to add with those kind of cartoons. They have some sort of a lovable little creature as a somewhat sidekick, and they had a thing called Godzuki. Why I have no clue. It was just a cheesy thing to do, but they had to replace. They couldn't get the rights to use the trademark Godzilla howl there, so they had to come up with their own. And with some idiot with behind the microphone, which sounded outright cheesy as hell, man.
Yeah,
Come on,
that was bad. Yeah,
I
that
mean,
yeah, I saw that show a few times. It was like,
yeah,
what
it's like,
the
come
heck?
on. I know, but then again, you got to remember, most likely hit the infamous Godzilla howl that we know was probably copyrighted by the producers of the whichever studio came up with the Godzilla trademark there.
Right.
Now, Godzilla, as we know, is depicted as an enormous, destructive, prehistoric sea creature that was awakened and empowered by nuclear radiation, the nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the Lucky Dragon 5 incident, still fresh in the subconsciousness in the Japanese people there. Now, he was conceived as a metaphor for nuclear weapons. Now, others suggested that he or she is a metaphor for the United States, a giant beast woken by its slumber, which takes terrible vengeance upon the country of Japan. Now, as the film series would expanded, some stories took on less serious overtones, undertones, portraying Godzilla as somewhat as a anti-hero or a lesser threat who defends humanity. Post several movies in the 1980s, shifted the character's portrayal to themes including Japan's forgetfulness over its imperial past, natural disasters, and the human condition. This
Yeah.
is from the Wikipedia there. Now, it's also been featured alongside other supporting characters. It has faced human opponents such as JSDF or other monsters such as what's this one? I cannot pronounce it. Go Godzilla, or it also featured Mothra, which is a humongous moth. Rodan. Argyrus. See if you can help me out with the pronunciation, because remember, my pronunciation sucks a big one, man.
Well, of course, we had King Kong.
Corey King Kong. There was a couple. Absolutely. The RKO Pictures Universal Movie Monster King Kong, and also there was a couple of crossovers between those two there, believe it or not,
Yeah.
including, believe it or not, it was also taken on Shield, featured in the Marvel Comics series there, which Nick Fury from the Avengers worked it for. The Fantastic Four and the Avengers, believe it or not. I'm reading up on this now. That'll be interesting to see there.
Oh, Godzilla shows up in lots of places.
Oh yeah, he even shows up in samples. I remember he shows up in samples of that song "Posse's on Broadway" by Sir Mix-a-Lot a couple times there throughout the whole track.
And then, of course, you
And
have the song Godzilla.
by Blue Oyster Cult, absolutely, got to acknowledge that. For instance, when people talk about their like for instance, when macho guys talk about their penises being so big, they often refer to that as a Godzilla. When you think about it.
Yeah, and I'm really sure that there's a lot of girls out there that's not. It's kind of well, it's kind of overkill.
Cheesy, cheesy as hell. I remember this one guy calling in on a radio show, talking about his so-called Godzilla being the reason why he's not the person you should date, and all the girls with the station were holding up their pinkies as a response to that.
Yeah, which was a pretty good
But
possibility, you know.
yeah, most likely, people love. You know how people love to brag, which is probably one of the reasons why guitar players hold their guitars so down to their past their hips at times.
Yeah,
Yeah. Or the same thing, people who hunt on animals, use a lot of rifles to make up for that other rifle that's deemed so small at times. I remember there was a joke about that for ages there.
yeah. And there were
Now,
a ton of what they would call Godzilla movies. I
I know,
mean,
36, 32, man, that is a trip as well.
yeah, I've seen a lot of them. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen
Hmm.
a lot of them.
Yeah,
Kind of semi collect them. I probably have all of them, but I haven't seen all of them,
yeah.
or I have all of them available. Let's put it that way.
And there's been a lot of incarnation versions of Godzilla throughout 1954 and 2017, believe it or not.
Yeah,
Now the origins of this beast often vary, but it is generally depicted as an enormous, violent, prehistoric, as I mentioned, pre-sea creature, awakened and empowered by the radiation of nuclear stuff there. Although the specific details of its appearance have varied slightly throughout the years, the overall impression has remained consistent. Inspired by the fictional a character by animator Ray Harryhausen for the movie Beast from 20,000 Phantoms.
yeah, that's an
The
American
character,
movie.
yep, the Godzilla character design was conceived of that as an enormous reptilian monster based around the loose concept of a dinosaur with an erect standing posture, scaly skin, massive torso with muscular arms, lobed bony plates along its back and tail, and a furrowed brow. Now,
Yeah,
art director Akira Watanabe, I believe that's how it's pronounced, combined attributes of a Tyrannosaurus, an alligator, and a couple other prehistoric creatures to form a sort of a blended chimera,
yeah.
inspired by illustrations from an issue of Life magazine. To
Those
implement, go ahead.
those plates that he's got on his down his back are actually something
Yes.
you would see in a stegosaurus.
Yeah. The basic design was a reptilian visage, a robust build, an upright posture, long tail, three rows of serrated plates along the back. In the original film, the plates were added for aesthetic purposes in order to further differentiate Godzilla from any other creature or any other extinct creature that was out there. It's
Right,
often depicted as green in comics, cartoons, and movie posters, but the costumes used in these movies were often charcoal gray with the white bone Darcy plates up until the Godzilla 2000 Millennium movie came out. It was a lot more greenish, from what I understand.
yeah,
Now in the original movies, Godzilla and all the other monsters are referred to with gender neutral pronouns, referred to it.
right.
While in the English dubbed versions, Godzilla is often described as a male, such as in the title Godzilla, King of the Monsters. But in the 1998 movie Godzilla that starred Matthew Broderick, the monster was referred to as a male and depicted laying eggs throughout the movie there, I guess. And in
Yeah,
the legendary Godzilla movies, it is still referred to as a male, but yet that often was questioned about when we saw that little Godzuki character in some of the movies. I like, where did that come from? Did it give birth to it or what?
yeah. Well, a lot of the animal kingdom type things are asexual. They
Hmm.
are essentially both.
Oh,
Good example. That's an earthworm.
oh wow. So Godzilla is a hermaphrodite.
That's probably a good description. Oh, you're not showing up live, by the way.
What?
You're not showing
Why
up
not?
live.
Why am I not showing up live? Why? I don't understand.
I
I
don't
said
know.
it says here I have currently three viewers right now.
Huh. I'm not seeing it, but that's okay.
Let me check on the other, see what the hell's going on here, because I started the stream. It should be working pretty good here, and blah blah blah. I should load up the other page. Yep, and there's says here I'm live right now on YouTube.
Okay. I'm just not pulling it up for some reason for me, which is
I
okay.
don't get here. There we go.
As long as it's showing, that's
So
fine.
it is showing definitely. Let me turn down volume. I pulled up an extra tab of us live here. Yeah, thank you. Now, of course, back to the subject here. There it is. One, two, three, four. There we go. A lot of the sexuality was often a question about that. You said a lot of these monsters are like asexual or something like that, I guess.
I think that's the effect they were going for because there are asexual creatures in the animal kingdom. Most of them are lesser, like I said, the earthworm. But
Ah,
it can happen, and there are others, but I cannot think of any of them off the top of my head.
hmm, all right. Now, who knows? It's hard to tell, especially in these days of so-called gender fluidness that's going on right now. So, now, the abilities that Godzilla has here, of course, it's what is known as its atomic breath.
Oh
The
yeah,
atom beam that comes out of its mouth, like a dragon would shoot fire out of its own mouth.
right.
It's a nuclear energy that generates inside of its body, uses electromagnetic force to concentrate it into a laser-like high velocity beam there and unleashes it from its jaws in the form of a blue or red radioactive beam. Now, the special effects department has used various techniques to render the beam, from physical gas powered flames to hand drawn computer animated fire. And it's also shown immerse physical strength and muscularity. Now, the guy who played Godzilla in the original films, he wears a black belt in judo and used his skills there to choreograph the battle sequences as well.
Yeah,
Now,
it's fun because some of those scenes are great and some of them are about as hokey as a battle scene can get.
of course, one of the, of course, main traits of Godzilla is, of course, its or actual famous roar. We've heard it in all the Godzilla movies. It's been sampled in Sir Mix-a-Lot's posses on Broadway from the early '80s. There, years before Baby Got Back, and it's iconic. And I
Yeah,
believe, as we mentioned earlier, the Hanna-Barbera cartoon series of Godzilla was not. I believe they were not able to get that permission to use that for some reason. So, yeah, as we mentioned, they had to come up with their own, which was god awful.
yeah, yeah. That cartoon was not real entertaining.
I know it's just really not. I'm going to call Godzilla with a flick of a button there, and all comes out there. It sounds like Bullfrog taking a dump, for crying out loud. Give us a break. Anyways, it's just, you know, I'm sorry. And was there any need for a Godzuki?
Yeah, probably not. I mean,
No, there was no need, for a Godzuki, for crying out loud, man. And a shout out to Casey as Raw. He's in my chat there saying, "What up, guys? We doing good, Casey." Hey, Casey, if you're a big Godzilla fan, feel free to join in on this subject here, dude.
yeah. Have you seen all 32 movies? No, I'm kidding.
Now, oh, you gotta have no life if you have
Pretty much.
you see all those 32 there.
Because depending on the translation, it's either good or bad. Because the translation, sometime when you're watching them, it's like, what? Because they translate it into their version of what the English would be, which is probably
Hmm.
not even close to the true Japanese.
Yeah.
They just translate it into something that they think's going to work.
Now
Now,
we also should,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, the
No, go
first
ahead.
movie also should starred Raymond Burr,
Yes, well, I
which
was going to
was
mention that just now, but who later we know as Attorney Perry Mason, Prosecutor Perry Mason. And he was also known for the 1970s series Ironside, which he plays a detective or captain, paralyzed from a bullet in his spine, having to resort to being in a wheelchair for the rest of his life there.
yeah, and this was actually I think pre Perry Mason. I don't
I
think he
think
had
so.
started yet.
Oh, I think the Perry. Let me look up because I think the Perry Mason series was in the 1940s, if I'm good. Let
No, no,
me
no,
look it up. No?
not the Raymond Burr one. That I think was either 50s or 60s. Well, it's
Oh,
black
yeah.
and
Let me
white, but I don't remember for
yeah,
sure.
no. Let me look at up. Yeah, right. You're right. You are correct, dude. Perry Mason started in 1957 to 1966 with Raymond Burr. You're all right, dude. This was his first ever appearance in any movie or any TV series there. So props up to Raymond Burr.
Yeah, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember because I've seen Godzilla, the original with Perry Mason, with Raymond Burr in it,
Raymond Burr, yeah.
and I'm trying to remember whether he was a good guy, a bad guy, or an incidental character.
Mm,
And I honestly don't. I remember him in the movie, but I don't remember the part he played. I
mm.
kind of think he was an American news guy, but I could be wrong. I just don't
Maybe.
remember. It's been a while since I've seen the original Godzilla.
Oh.
And the second one, Godzilla Raids Again, I actually saw that one too, but I don't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Then the original King Kong versus Godzilla followed that up in
Mm.
1962.
All right. I see. Yeah. And of course, well, we got to also talk about the cheesy Godzilla from we got to talk about the cheesy Godzilla movie from 1988, which had a different look.
Yeah, it kind of ruined the franchise a little bit, but not terribly.
I know, but for some reason, though, the Godzilla that I saw was basically a humongous creature, but looking a little bit more different. Had was a lot more muscular, whereas the Godzilla we know and love had a beer gut.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I remember hearing about it. Instead of fighting back all these planes coming to shoot it or take it down, this Godzilla ran away.
Not a good thing for a monster to do.
No, no, hell no. And we all know Godzilla's a fighter. Godzilla, if you go after it once, he'll take your ass down. I'm sorry, but it was tempting to cash in on the Independence Day craze up there. Hey, let's do it with someone we already know or something we already know. Godzilla. People love Godzilla. Hey, let's make it to invading New York City or some other city. Let's have a good actor we love and respect like Matthew Broderick and whoever else. Whereas Independence Day had Will Smith in it as well,
Right.
and I guess Jeff Goldblum, if I understand as well. Let's cash in on that. That's basically what that whole idea was. And sadly, it didn't cut the cheese. It just didn't even cut the mustard.
Two of these movies were bad enough to show up on MST3K.
Being,
Uh,
of course, Mystery Science
right.
Theater
And the first
2000.
one
Yep.
was released as Era Horror of the Deep, but when they did it on MST, it was Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, which was about
Uh,
Godzilla versus. The gist of it was there's this giant sea crab, which was probably the fakest looking sea crab you've ever seen in your life.
yeah.
Um, and they basically fought in this one. And of course, uh, nuclear power was involved in that too. And then the other one was, and I'm trying to find it because it involved Jet Jaguar, which
I see.
had, well, I'll find it eventually. Oh, there it is. Godzilla versus Megalon, which was another
Mm-hmm.
horrible monster that he and this creation called Jet Jaguar that a couple of guys put together uh,
Yep.
basically fought Megalon. This was a pretty goofy movie, but I'd say about half of them were goofy, and the other half were actually pretty good. There've been all kinds of them where he's fought all kinds of people, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I
All
think the
sorts of
name,
creatures.
yeah, I think the name of Godzilla's son was Minilla, I believe,
Manila.
if I'm
Mm.
not mistaken.
Wow. Because I never was able to get the name of that or how it was conceived or what. I don't know. Was it dropped off from another planet, for his older half to look over or something like that? Because there was one scene where I remember it from one of those movies where Godzilla was teaching it to breathe fire from out of its mouth like a dragon or that nuclear energy beam it had. Try
Yeah,
to teach the same thing, but the only thing that little one was coming above was really smoke puffs and stuff. So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, it was. That movie was kind of Godzilla teaching this guy how to fight the big monsters, which of course
yep,
he had to
hmm
help him. Yeah, I saw that one actually.
yeah.
What's
We
interesting
all
is there
remember.
was a Mothra versus Godzilla movie. Then there was a
Hmm.
Godzilla versus Monster movie, Mothra movie.
Yeah,
Don't know what the difference was between those two, unless you were supposed to do the good guy bad guy bit, or what the deal was
yeah.
on that one.
Which one's the baby face? Which one's the heel? Either way.
Yeah, exactly. Mothra was controlled by Pink Lady, which was
Pink
a
Lady.
Japanese pop group of two.
Oh my gosh, that's the first thing that came to my mind as well. I watched that series, that show a couple of times in the past. These two that Japanese, these hot-looking Japanese girls, and like Pink. I like, wait a minute. Then it just came and went. There was only one record that didn't really do so well, but I guess sadly, that's how it is. I guess, but
Hmm.
then again, to find out they were controlled this monstrous beast, they'll probably figure, "Damn you, America! We're gonna get you back at you for canceling our TV show. We're gonna have the chance to make it big. We're gonna come after you.
And
World of
basically they would sing to make him do stuff.
Yes, I remember that whole scenario. That has been spoofed a few times, like shows like South Park and such. Believe it or not, there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but essentially that's kind of what their purpose was, is to kind of tell Mothra, hey, this is what need to be doing.
and he did it did it at the same time. They would vocalize and I guess they
Hmm.
harmonize their words together in some sort of a singing fashion, and I guess
Hmm.
yes, which is unique, you know. Yeah. So, now, obviously, we know the Blue Oyster Cult song of the same name, Godzilla. Obviously, they must have toured up over there one time and kind of like started
Yeah, I
watching.
bet
Either
the
way, they
people love
started.
that song.
Yeah, they still love it, and I guess that no doubt that's when they played that song in Japan. Most doubt the people rose from the streets because this is a homage to one of their icons. I mean, let's also not forget, it also won MTV not MTV Movie Awards, trophy there. I guess for being an iconic performance. I guess.
Well, I saw them in concert once,
Yeah.
and they had a giant Godzilla balloon
Oh
that
yeah,
they
no surprise
had
there.
show up, which I thought was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Yeah, I only saw them one time in 2007. It was at the Stars and Stripes Festival in Mount Clemens, Michigan. They had Rudy Starzo from Whitesnake, Blizzard of Oz, Quiet Riot filling in on the bass at that time there. Pretty good performance there.
Yeah, that's a group I like a lot of their stuff, but
Yeah, I know
and
a friend. I
that's a
know.
music show thing.
Yeah, exactly. We got to talk about that probably sometime soon. I know that.
Oh yeah, they'll be on the list.
Yeah. I know some people often cited them as the American version of Black Sabbath, but they were talking more about sci-fi than what the other stuff Sabbath were singing about at that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
But that's like I
eventually
said, that's
they gave Godzilla a place to live,
oh yeah, they did. The Japanese did.
Monster Island,
Oh yeah.
where they kept Godzilla and a bunch of other creatures that just showed up.
Wow, must have
So,
been humongous knowing the size of these blokes there.
well, Monster Island had to be about the size of a continent
Oh
to
yeah, most
house all
likely, yeah.
these beasts.
I know. It's like so. Who funded that? The Japanese government, I guess, or
I
does
guess
it not
so.
say?
You know, it's kind of funny the way they get rid of monsters. Hey, let's exile you to an island. Uh,
Okay, which is not should be not far from Tokyo or any other else, just in case it's needed to fight off whichever beast or creature comes out of the sky there.
yeah, because I did remember one movie at least where they had to go to Monster Island and get him, and he swam all the way to Tokyo,
Wow.
which was kind of weird.
Oh, wow, that's something. Usually, but then again, the depths of the various oceans are not that they're not that basically no matter how big Godzilla is, you still had to swim because of the depths of the bottom there are so a lot more deeper than what Godzilla would imagine it to be.
Right, either that or he walked across, which I can't imagine.
Which if that was, I'm not too sure how deep the waters are in the Atlantic or Pacific Oceans between continents, but either way, from what I understand, if you try to go scuba diving down at the bottom, be prepared. Some shit may happen to your ears or something else there.
Yeah, because there's parts of the ocean that are incredibly deep.
Yeah, very deep there. So imagine Godzilla probably figured, it's best to swim there instead of trying to walk in because I'm going to swim there. I'm going to keep myself at this near the surface at all times, man.
A giant lizard swimming, huh?
Yep, that's true. Yeah. So, and I'm wondering, were there any action figures on Godzilla here in the States or in Japan? I imagine.
Japan, I'm sure, was.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I think the same thing myself, man.
Here, no, I don't remember them,
Oh
but
no, I don't
they
think there.
probably
I don't
existed.
recall. Maybe so. Probably the early '70s. So I understand. I do. I should probably look on for YouTube of any Godzilla action figure commercials or things like that. Possibly, if they did, I probably must have either forgot about them or not known about them then, because I wasn't too much keen on Godzilla as a kid. It was either Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, and then later Star Wars, and then Battlestar Galactica.
Well, bear in
So,
mind that a lot of these movies were on from about 54 to 60 to 70 before they, you know, they didn't do that many action figures.
yeah, it's true. Yeah. I don't think there was. I don't think they had any action figures at that time. When you come to think of it,
Probably not.
yeah, think about it. I think it was in the 1970s when they started coming out with those, with all the superheroes that we know and love like the back of our hands.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
You know, Yeah, I'm going to go over some of the special effects that's detailed here in the Wikipedia. Now, the appearance, of course, Godzilla has always been traditionally portrayed in the films by an actor wearing a latex costume. We all know that. They've done it with Ultraman and a couple other Japanese heroic figures as well. Though the character has also been rendered in animationtronic, slow motion, computer generation form, taking inspiration from King Kong. Special effects artists had initially wanted Godzilla to be portrayed via stop motion, but
Yeah,
prohibitive deadlines and a lack of experienced animators in Japan at that time made it more practical. Now, the first suit consisted of a body cavity made of thin wires and bamboo, wrapped in chicken wire for support and covered in fabric and cushions, which were later coated in latex. The first suit was held together by small hooks on the back through subsequent Godzilla suits, incorporated a zipper, of course, probably in the back to it for the person to get out of in. Its weight was excessive of 100, actually 200 pounds, 220 pounds to be exact. Now,
well,
prior to
could you imagine be
1980,
the guy having to carry that around?
they better have put some, let alone have to wear it.
Yeah,
It must have been hot as hell. I remember David Prowse, the guy who wore the Vader suit in the original trilogies. He talked about how extremely hot it was to wear that while filming all those the original trilogy movies there.
man.
And of course, the suit he had to wear was, of course, D. Vader's,
Right.
Big Daddy Darth there. Now, most Godzilla suits were made from scratch, thus resulting in slight design changes in each movie appearance. The most notable changes throughout the 70s and 60s were the reduction in the number of toes and the removal of some of the extended ears and fangs, which features would be reincorporated in the Godzilla designs in The Return to Godzilla and onward.
Yeah, I
Now,
don't know about you, but I would have never noticed because I'm not into counting toes.
neither am I. I don't. I just pay attention to what the monster is doing, and that's fourth. They usually wait to the toes at the last minute to find that Achilles heel. Believe it or not, when it comes to scenarios like that,
Yeah,
you know, the most consistent Godzilla design, according to this, was maintained from Godzilla versus Biollante, or if I'm pronouncing that, Biollante
I
from
think
1989. Go
I
ahead.
think that's right. It
Yeah,
sounds right.
and got and to Godzilla versus Destoria. It's spelled
Where is it? Oh,
Destroyah from 1995.
it looks like Dystoria.
Destoria. There we go. Oh, sounds like a good name for a heavy metal band out of the Europe region there.
And it
Whereas the
also seemed
suit
to
was,
feature Godzilla Jr.
yeah, I think so.
Apparently
In
that's
that movie
different
there.
from, yeah, apparently that's different from the other one.
Oh yeah. And also the suit was given a cat-like face and double rows of teeth, I should add there as
Huh.
well. Now, many, believe it or not, many of the people who portrayed God, who was inside the Godzilla suits, often had difficulties due to the suit's weight, the diminished visibility, and the lack of ventilation. Now, one of them in particular who portrayed Godzilla from 84 to 95 described how the suits he wore were even more heavier, more hotter than their predecessors because of the incorporation of animatronics, I guess it's called there. The
Animatronics?
one, this one was, yes. This the one I'm speaking of here suffered numerous medical issues during his tenure, including being deprived of oxygen, near drowning, concussions, electric shocks, and lacerations to the legs from the suit's steel wire reinforcements wearing throughout the rubber padding. The ventilation problem was solved in the suit in 1994's Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, which was the first to include an air duct, which allowed actors inside of any suit, like such as those, to last longer during performances. 1984's The Return of Godzilla features some scenes which made use of a 16-foot high robotic Godzilla, dubbed the Cybot Godzilla, for use of its close-up shots and the creature's head. Now, this Godzilla consisted of powered mechanical exoskeleton covered in this material here, urethane, I guess it's called there.
Urethane, yeah.
Urethane, yeah. Skin containing about 3,000 computer-sized operated parts, which permitted it to tilt its head and move its lips and arms. In the 1998 Godzilla that we spoke of earlier, the special effects artist was instructed to redesign the creature as an incredibly fast runner. At one point, it was used to use motion capture from a human to create the movements of the computer-generated Godzilla, but it's said to have ended up looking too much like a guy in a suit. Now, now
That's never
the
stopped them
art,
before, but hey.
that's true, yeah, but people were noticing the difference there because this is supposed to be computer animated here. Now, the special effects artist subsequently reimagined the creature as a lean, digigrade Lagana-like creature that stood with its back and tail parallel to the ground, rendered from CGI,
Oh, yeah.
and that's what kind of like teed people off. So wait a minute, that's not the Godzilla we know and love. This one looks different there.
This one actually does look like a lizard.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, like traditional lizard, like one of those iguanas, just on steroids.
Yeah.
Now, several scenes had the monster portrayed in stuntmen in suits. The suits were similar to those used in the original films, with the actor's head being located in the monster's neck region, and the
Right.
facial movements were controlled by, of course, the electronics there. However, because of the creature's horizontal posture, stuntmen had to wear metal leg extenders, which allowed them to stand 2 meters, 6 feet off the ground with their feet bent forward. The
Wow.
film's special effects also build a 1:6 scaled animatronic Godzilla for close-up scenes, whose size outmatched of Stan Winston's T-Rex in Jurassic Park. Kurt Carley performed the simulation sequences for the adult Godzilla. And in the 2014 Godzilla, the character was portrayed thoroughly throughout CGI and nothing else. The design in that reboot was to stay true to the original series, although the special effects in that movie team strove to make the monster more dynamic than a guy in a big rubber suit. To create the CG version, the motion picture company MPC studied various animals such as bears, lizards, lions, wolves, Komodo dragons, which helped the visual effects artists visualize the body structure of Godzilla, of that of its underlying bone, fat, and muscular structure, as well as the thickness and texture of its scales. The motion capture was used for some of the Godzilla movements. TJ Storm provided the performance capture of Godzilla wearing sensors in front of a green screen. Everything's done by a green screen nowadays,
Oh yeah.
including some of the recent Star Wars movies, believe it or not. Storm reprised the role of Godzilla in Godzilla, King of the Monsters, portraying the character through performance capture. In Shin Godzilla, a majority of the character was portrayed, of course, by CGI, with somebody else portraying the creature through motion capture. Now, the cultural impact that Godzilla has had is one of the most recognizable symbols of Japanese pop culture worldwide.
Yeah,
As I mentioned, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, it's interesting to note that Godzilla in the early movies was kind of semi clunky and stuff, but they improved the way Godzilla looked,
Yeah,
reacted, acted, but they didn't improve the movies. I
that's
mean, some
true.
were, like I
But then
said, some
again,
of
you
them
got to
were bad.
Yeah. But then again, you also got to remember there are people out there who prefer the originals as they are. They could go back and do all the retouching up like George
Oh yeah.
Lucas did with the original trilogy. But there were those out there that did not appreciate that. It's like, why did they change Anakin Skywalker from Sebastian Shaw to Hayden Christensen? They should not have done that. You got to keep that in mind. That's how it was that's how they wanted to portray it at that time there. And plus, there are going to be people that are thinking, why are you messing with the original scenery? That's the way it was. You got to keep that in mind. There are
Well,
traditionalists out there who don't like shit being a change for this
well,
purpose or that purpose.
I generally do like them to leave them as they are for the most part. Now, if they can do an
Yeah,
improvement that is an actual improvement and not just, hey, let's do this and put something new in, then fine. That's okay.
that's
But I
true
think for
there.
the most part, if they just leave them alone, they're good for what they are.
And let the people see how the technology was back in those days. Because so many people around this in their 20s or 30 early 30s there only know the CGI stuff and the computer animation. They need to see how these effects were done
Well, they
years
need to see
before
what those
that.
people back there had to deal with. Now,
Yes.
the one that's really interesting in how he does stuff, although it has nothing to do with Godzilla, you mentioned him earlier, was Ray Harryhausen. Some of his
Yep.
monsters were incredibly lifelike because of the way they did them.
hmm Now, of course, we were talking about the impact on popular culture there throughout the
Right.
world there. In '96, Godzilla received the Lifetime Achievement Awards during the MTV Movie Awards that year. It also was given a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame
Well,
in
that must have been a big one.
2004. Yeah, it was. It's also led to various tributes, parodies, such as Bambi Meets Godzilla, a little short movie I remember seeing on HBO one time. That was ranked one of the top 50 greatest cartoons. Two episodes of Mystery Science Theater will feature a couple of his movies. And of
Right.
course, we mentioned early Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult.
Right.
It's been used in advertisements as well as a commercial for Nike where Godzilla just loses an oversized one-on-one game of basketball to a giant version of an NBA player, Charles Barkley. The commercial was subsequently adapted into a comic book illustrated by Jeff Butler. It's also appeared in a commercial for Snickers candy bars, which served as an indirect promo for the 2014 movie. And the success has also inspired the creation of other numerous monster characters, such as Gamera, Reptilicus of Denmark,
Yeah,
um,
because Gamera had a lot of
Gorgo,
movies too.
Gam- Gamera, yeah, as well. Then, Gorgo of the United Kingdom, and of course we cannot forget the Cloverfield monster, which was takes place in the States here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And of course, what can we say? But Godzilla is going to probably keep going on and going on furthermore. I imagine there's probably another Godzilla being filmed in the land of the rising sun as we speak right now. I bet you it's probably already showing, as we know.
Yeah, because well, they did one in 2018. Wow.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So it keeps on going and going and going, like the Timex, like the Energizer Buddy.
Yeah, and they keep using a lot of the same monsters over and over. Although they did
But then again,
introduce some new ones.
yeah, it's true. But then again, they often do that at times. Look at how many times Doctor Who had to take on both the Daleks and the Cybermen and Davros. Look how many times Spider-Man had to deal with Doctor Octopus and the Green Goblin. And of course, we can look. I cannot count how many times Batman had to put up with the Joker, the Riddler, and of course, Catwoman and all the others out there.
Yeah, new ones would show
And
up
look how
occasionally, but they kept coming back to the same three or four.
Yeah, and God knows how we cannot count how many times Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper went at each other in the times in the WWF and the WWE.
Yeah, there are certain things
What do you
that
think?
just seem to go together.
And when you kind of think about it, I guess spectators would say Godzilla and Mothra need each other.
Yeah, for the most part.
I know.
Yeah,
They complete one another there. All
the
right.
concept of Mothra
All
was
right.
kind of weird, but
Yeah, big
excuse
ass
me.
moth there. Okay.
Yeah,
I
just had a
coughed
little
as
bit of
well.
cough there.
So did I, man. All right, I guess I'll probably conclude our look at the mighty lizard known as Godzilla, ladies and gentlemen. It's about a few minutes to 7 here. I'm going to get going here. I got a couple other things I got to take care of for the moment. I got to head out to the Home Depot. As you know, we've been busy retouching up our living room here and there. It's been blank, and we're filling a lot of stuff up here and there.
Okay,
And
and then
all right,
we'll take the weekend off, of course, and we'll start
yeah,
up again on Monday. And on the
yes,
recap and preview, we'll kind of figure out another subject because the recap and preview doesn't take much time. And
that's true.
we'll cover something else. We'll
I
talk
got
about
a
it and
few
figure it
things.
out.
I got a few things. Like I said, I got a few things in mind for the TV spots there. We got to discuss, as I mentioned, Miami Vice, the Carol Burnett Show, All in the
Yeah.
Family, and it's made a couple of other spin-offs, Maude and the Jeffersons there.
Yeah, and I want to get into some of the anthology shows like Twilight Zone, Outer
Yes,
Limits, Alfred
yes.
Hitchcock, even.
Night Gallery.
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. We got to definitely touch up on those. Definitely for shizzle. Be doing that this coming Monday on our recap and preview next Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 Eastern. Okay, so I guess that's it for today here.
Yeah.
That's right. Like I said, I'm going to be busy for the next couple hours doing some shit here and there. And for Arknolia and myself, this is Arknolia and the Doctor. Movies so good, the movies so bad, they're actually good. I hope I turned on that right on here. I'll have to check again. All
Okay.
right, so everybody have a good one, and stay tuned. I guess, is Mars Mirror going live pretty soon here?
I don't know.
All right, I guess it's depicted on the, I guess there's a reminder, I guess. I got to check there. Check out Mars Mirror on his channel there. It's Friday Night Dynamite. And of course, later on, Joe Cronin would monetize this on the Corrupted Nation channel. I got to plug him.
Right.
All right, so once again, for me and Arknolia, you guys have a great weekend.
And we'll talk to y'all later.